Ms. Miller.
Thank you, Chairman Smith. And I want to thank all four of you, as we say at home, all y'all. Your stories, your information, and your feedback is so important to us to help. I'm not sure we're solving this as cracking open such a huge issue. I'm a wife, a mother, and a grandmother, which is really cool. But my boys were in lots and lots of sports, and I never knew how many feet would be underneath my table at dinner. Many nights there were a lot of extra feet. I had a couple rules. One was you had no hat on your head, you had to wear a shirt, you had to say grace. And so I've always had an empathy for children who may have just been hungry. But the social welfare that we have for our kids, the system is so important to me, and I'm encouraged that our committee is willing to take the necessary steps to discuss what needs to happen. Many children entering the child welfare system have an urgent material need that can be addressed without direct government intervention. In West Virginia, where I'm from, 53% of our foster children are cared for by relatives, often older grandparents like me, who are retired, and they struggle to afford unexpected expenses, things like car seats, formula, things that haven't been in their venue for a while. And given the rural nature of my state, accessing so many of these much-needed resources can be very challenging. I introduced H.R. 476, the Helping Hands Family Act, with Representative Chu, as she mentioned earlier, to be able to use the electronic services and tools that connect families to the essential services that support them online. Mr. Geen, do you believe that providing more flexibility in how Title IV-B services are delivered could better serve the families, particularly in rural areas like West Virginia?
So there's no doubt in my mind that the type of coordination and navigation you're talking about is essential. Essential for the birth parents, essential for the kinship caregivers. My understanding or my read of Title IV-B would say that it is already something that is allowable. So clarifying that with HHS might be a first stop.
Thank you for that. I think flexibility within Title IV-B is hugely important. Another policy that I've worked on with my colleagues would be providing additional flexibility within the court improvement program. The court improvement program helps courts conduct hearings on child abuse and neglect in a timely manner and provides training to judges with trauma-informed care. This will ensure that children who enter these courts have the support that they so desperately need. Along with Representatives Blake and Chu, I introduced the Court Improvement Program Enhancement Act, and it will allow CIP funds to be used towards improving technology support for remote hearings and allow state courts to use the CIP funds to improve parent, family, and youth engagement in their child welfare proceedings. Once again, Mr. Geen, can you speak to the importance of ensuring that everyone involved in child welfare proceedings is appropriately trained, and how more remote hearing flexibilities would allow for a better overall outcome?
Yeah, I think the child welfare system as a whole learned a lot during COVID. The courts, absolutely, and many courts experimented with remote hearings. And my reading of the experience is that it was mixed. They definitely appreciated the opportunity, and it is a vital component moving forward. But it's not a catch-all. It's not a silver bullet. Just because we have a remote hearing doesn't make it a high-quality hearing. And so we need to keep a close eye on what those hearings look like and make sure that everyone involved is trained to use the technology in a way that we're treating families fairly. But as an option, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I'd like to turn to you, Ms. Hilton, now. First and foremost, thank you for using your platform and personal story to bring attention to such troubling experiences that so many youth are actually facing in our foster and residential treatment homes. It's critical that we keep the well-being of children at the forefront of all these discussions, and you have been tireless in turning your personal trauma into advocacy on the behalf of troubled youth. And we hear a lot about the increase in mental health disorders in youth, including disorders like ADHD, depression, anxiety, suicide. In my home state of West Virginia, we also struggle with high rates of substance disorder children and have been fighting the opioid epidemic for years and years and years. And far too many young children are struggling with mental health and unable to get the support they need. Parents are often at a loss as to how to help their children, and they don't really know how to access. How do you think we can improve the support we give to teens and youth to help them cope and to have a healthy transition into adulthood, especially when you're talking about foster youth who've already had so much trauma?
Well, thank you so much, and I'm grateful that we're having this discussion to figure out what kids need. I think that the first step is asking the youth. We should prioritize lived experience voices to ensure that we truly understand what could help them and then figure out how to do that. I believe youth need access to mental health in their communities, mentorship, and community. We do have a mental health crisis for our kids, and it scares me for my own children. I'm confident that we can bolster support for children and their parents in the community, and will prevent trauma by removing children and placing them in facilities, as no child should spend their childhood in a facility.
Thank you so much for your testimony. I yield
Thank
back.
you.